Welcome to Movao Live Talks. I'm Rebecca Legon and I'm excited to be joined today by Andrew Gregory, aka Tattoo Pole Boy. Andrew is a world champion pole dancer and teacher who discovered his passion for the sport after sustaining severe injuries from a motorcycle accident, leading to an elected below knee amputation. I can't wait to dive into his story and highlight some of his incredible performances, including when he danced upside down, hanging from a giant balloon during the late Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee parade. He also embraced the global stage as one of the Ottobock amputees, performing at Eurovision alongside Sam Ryder and Roger Taylor for I Am a Mountain. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Rebecca. Oh my God, I love hearing all that stuff because I forget stuff. So actually, the Queen's Jubilee, I'd kind of
I know,
forgotten. It seems like a lifetime ago.
I know, it's absolutely crazy. I can't believe you actually did that. It's
I
absolutely,
know, right? Sometimes I can't believe that happened.
you look back at the footage and go, oh, that's actually me hanging from a giant balloon.
It was bonkers. When they first approached me to do it, they talked about hanging off a balloon, and it just sounded like a lot of fun. I didn't actually realize how high that balloon was going to go because
I
we
was,
didn't actually use the balloon until the day.
yeah.
Because it's hugely expensive to fill up with helium. So everything had been practiced on an aerial rig, which was just a little way off the ground. But when they let go of those ropes, it was like up over Buckingham Palace. I mean, it was amazing, but it was a bit of a shock. But also, I loved every second of it. Oh my God, incredible!
Yeah, I can imagine. And I bet the whole buzz and the views and everything was just magical.
Yeah, it was one of the most incredible moments of my life. It's something that will never happen again.
Yeah.
For anybody to have
Yeah.
the Queen with us for so long and to be able to be part of that celebration and then lose the Queen months later, it was it was a great honour to be part of it.
Yeah. I sometimes feel like she's still with us.
Yeah, I still find it hard to get my head around.
I know. So anyway, how are you doing today? Are you good?
Yeah, very good.
Oh, so let's take your story back to the start. So can you kind of, introduce a bit about your amputation journey?
Yeah, so my amputation was a little bit strange. I had a motorbike accident, but didn't lose my leg on the night of the accident. My leg was pretty much destroyed, but there was operation after operation over years and years. I had about 15 or 16 surgeries trying to make it function. It was never going to be great, but they were trying to make it function.
Yeah.
It was about 16 or 17 years after the accident that I decided to not give in, but I
Yeah.
needed to move on with my life. I had become more active. I'd discovered pole dancing.
Yeah. How?
And as I was becoming more active, my leg was holding me back more.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, not just about pole, but, I was in a lot of pain, a lot of painkillers. I was having to use a walking stick. I was getting less mobile rather than getting more mobile.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I finally decided to take the decision to amputate it, which actually wasn't that big a decision for me. It felt like the right thing to do. I'd tried my best to fix it.
Yeah.
And then I remember finally having the operation and waking up after the operation. I was so happy. I
Right.
cannot tell you. So happy. And literally from the moment I woke up, I was up and about. For me, I just got on with my life very quickly.
Obviously, you had the pain of having an amputation, but did all those pains that you were experiencing before amputation, after you had your leg amputated, did those pains go with the leg? Or
Oh, immediately. Immediately. I mean, um, I had some pain from the operation, but
yeah,
surprisingly little. And it was just a complete relief. Worked wonders straight away.
I hear that you got into pole dancing before you had your leg amputated, but after your accident. How did you discover pole dancing, and how did your pole dancing career, excel after your amputation?
That's such a good question. So I'd been looking for some form of exercise that I could do with my leg in the state that it was in. And purely by chance, I had come across this thing called anti-gravity yoga, which is a form of yoga, but you're suspended in hammocks, so your weight is out of your feet. And I just
Yeah,
thought that seems like something that would be great for me, because if my feet aren't on the ground, then it's going to be much more comfortable.
yeah.
And the only studio that taught it in London was actually a 2-minute walk from my front door. So I went and did that, and it turned out that within the studio, they also taught pole dance. So I did anti-gravity yoga for about 2 years, I think. And then I always fancied trying pole. It looked really interesting, but I thought my leg
Yeah.
would be a real issue. And
Okay.
then one day we had a new teacher arrive, a girl called Deb Roach, who's unfortunately now in Australia.
Okay.
And she has an arm missing.
Wow.
And she was throwing herself around the pole. And I just thought, hang on,
Yeah,
if she can do it,
I can do
then
it.
there is a way around it. I
Yeah.
can do this. And I booked my first pole class, and then I booked my second one straight afterwards. I think I did like 3 or 4 classes in a row. I left the studio with blisters on my hands. And then as I was doing more and more, my leg was causing more and more of a problem. Not, like I say, it wasn't just about doing pole. It was in my work. I'm a hairdresser. So it was
Mm.
causing problems there. Also just getting around. Yeah. So then I decided to go ahead with the amputation. And I shouldn't really say this, but after the amputation, I was back in the studio training 11 days after the amputation.
No way. And how,
Yeah, I still had the stitches in, but I needed to get moving. I was sat around doing nothing, and it was like my body was just itching to
yeah,
move.
to get
So obviously I was incredibly careful, but I swear it helps me heal a lot faster.
absolutely, physical exercise is so great for our mental health, and
Absolutely.
or,
Absolutely.
if you're going to if you can keep active and keep moving and keep getting your body, like keeping it strong and everything, I'm sure
Yeah.
you heal faster that way as well. Obviously, we're
I,
recommending people to
Oh
do
yeah,
this.
no. You do what works for you, but it doesn't mean it could be doing some sit-ups on the floor, or it could be doing a little walk down the street. But I am a real believer that our bodies need two things: one is food, one is exercise. Everything
Absolutely.
else is kind of, you know, just
I
luxuries.
100% agree with you
Right.
on that. For me, I suffer a little bit with anxiety, and I find I love my nature therapy and getting
Yeah,
out hiking. If I'm having
yeah,
any stress, if I go out and have a walk afterwards, I just feel so much better. And I think that comes with any form of exercise.
yeah. I know. I see that you post videos of you out walking, and it's like we must do this together sometime. I'd love to come out, go on a hike with you. It'd be so cool.
We are going to do it
Yeah,
next
yeah.
year,
Cool.
100%. I am obviously my life has been quite a lot the last year about amputee football. And next year I'll take some time to get back outdoors into the mountains because I absolutely love it and it's incredible. So what did it feel like getting back into pole dancing after your amputation? Did you find it easier, being pain free? And how did you adapt as an amputee? I was thinking about this earlier and how I would ask you this question. And when I go out for crutch runs without wearing my prosthesis, sometimes I have to climb over the thigh. That's
So
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I find because I've got one of my leg missing, the balance is really weird. So I was thinking, surely you must have had a balance difference when you got back into it.
Yeah, this is it was such an interesting period. I didn't really know how it was going to work. I knew I would make it work. Our bodies adapt to all sorts of things. But things that I had learnt when I had two full legs suddenly felt a lot harder, and it was all about that proprioception, learning where your body is in space, and suddenly your weight balance has shifted. Obviously this was before I had a prosthetic as well, so I was poling at first without a prosthetic on.
Mm.
So it was relearning how my body is in space,
Yeah.
but also learning different or creating different techniques for use
Mm.
on the pole. I didn't know how to do stuff. My teachers didn't know how to do stuff. This is all new ground for everyone, really. So I was very lucky that the teachers that I had and still have are incredibly talented, incredibly patient, and very understanding, and have helped me create all those new pathways that
Yeah.
didn't really exist before.
Do you think that since you've been doing pole dancing, that it is now becoming more adaptive and other amputees and people with limb differences are getting involved in the sport?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm a world champion at Parapole, which is there's this worldwide competition run by IPSF, which is the International Pole Sport Federation, and it's 38 different countries. Each has competitions, and then the winners of those competitions are brought together for the World Championships. It's a huge event. It's like 4 or 5 days, constant competitions, different ages, categories,
Yeah.
and they also have a para category,
Okay.
which is getting bigger and bigger. So there's different categories of para. Now every year I see more people coming through, and I know via my Instagram page I have come across other amputees pole dancing around the world, and I've managed to over time get them competing as well.
No way.
I
Very
think
cool.
you almost need to see somebody else doing
Yeah.
well to give you a little push, because
Mm,
some people are maybe they're in small towns, they're in a different country, they're in areas where they don't really feel very supported. And
yeah.
actually, that's the beauty of social media. Suddenly, you have this worldwide platform where you can see people doing stuff that actually works for you as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're seeing more and more people coming through with that.
Yeah. And so many people might have thought about, wow, I'd love to give pole dancing a try, but
Yeah,
just didn't feel that they had the confidence or no, where do I even begin being an amputee? And I guess like that's why social media is so incredible because they see people like you achieving world championships and out there doing pole dancing as an amputee and
yeah.
inspiring others. How does that make you feel? Such
I
a
mean,
great
I love it. I absolutely love it. So one little example is a girl who I came across maybe 2 years ago in Australia who wouldn't post anything to do with her pole. She had a very low self-image. She didn't like the way that just the idea of a stump. She didn't think people would want to see her and all this kind of stuff.
okay.
And this year she was on stage at the World Championships.
No
And
way.
I cried like a baby watching her. It was amazing. So those things are incredible. I did something great recently where a studio in the UK had contacted me who they have a new amputee student and they wanted to learn some inclusive ways to teach that
Okay.
they didn't have to single her out to give her her own thing. So I went and spent some time with the studio owner, taking them through an inclusive warm up, through beginner moves, things that would work, things that wouldn't. So it gave them the experience to then pass that on to their
Yeah.
student. And I love that. It's so great that people are becoming aware that actually they need to learn to be inclusive, not just of amputees,
That's brilliant.
of all sorts of people.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. There's like
Yeah,
a big movement in adaptive fitness at the moment and people showing more inclusivity. And it's great
yeah,
that pathways are opening for people with disabilities in all kinds of sports. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
It's so true.
it. Really good. How do you find, because you're a teacher as well,
Yeah.
so how do you install everything that you've learned from adapting pole dancing as an amputee to newcomers to the sport? How do you guide and give them the confidence and help them to achieve the best? Do you have any other people with disabilities coming to learn from you?
Yeah, I have a girl who's blind, which God, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. I've taught a girl with one arm who, unfortunately, she's moved to South America now. I've taught another amputee. So yeah, it's great that those people appear.
Yeah.
But I always think when I'm teaching, I generally don't teach total beginners, but I do think that generally I've found things more of a struggle to achieve, especially some of the bigger, scarier moves. And because I've had that struggle to achieve them, actually passing on my skills some ways makes it easier for people because
Well,
I've been where they are. You
ex-
know, I've been a lot more scared than they were.
yeah.
So it definitely works for me as a teacher, but then there's also some moves I physically cannot do. That's just the nature of
Yeah.
my disability. But that's fine because we have lots of teachers, and not every move works for everybody anyway.
Yeah.
So if there's something I physically can't teach, then I will suggest to people to try something
Yeah.
else. Or, I'm just part of a group of teachers.
That's great. That's brilliant. Okay, so taking it back, you adapted back into pole dancing as an amputee really well. Let's talk a little bit about your rehabilitation journey back into walking. How did you find that, learning to walk again on a prosthesis? Was that challenging or did you adapt to that quite
Yeah,
as well?
it was fascinating actually. In my head, had the amputation. 6 weeks later, I went and had my prosthetic fitted. That was it.
The
And I
10
thought that would be it. I thought I would just get the prosthetic and I would start walking. I mean, it was very quick for me, and I did have my first prosthesis at 6 weeks. But the issues you have are you have this new operation site,
Mm,
uh, which suddenly you're putting inside a hard plastic shell, and it does not want to be there. So I would get blisters within 10,
mm,
15 minutes of putting my prosthetic on. And then you had to let the blister, I mean, these are not little blisters, these were big blisters. Then you got to
right.
let the blisters heal before you put it on again, and then the same thing happens again. I was having to use crutches all the time, and it felt like I was never going to get off crutches
Yeah.
because that was helping me put less pressure through the operation site to get less blisters. And
Mm,
then suddenly one day I was like walking around the flat without my crutches, and it was like, oh, I didn't use my crutches this morning. A couple of weeks go by, and you're like, oh, I think I might just walk down the street without my crutches. And then, these little goals. So it felt like I was getting nowhere, absolutely
mm,
nowhere. And then suddenly you make this little progression, and it's like, maybe this is happening. I was also spending a lot of time convinced that I needed another amputation, that the operation had gone wrong. I
mm,
thought there was something wrong with it because I didn't understand why it was
mm,
not comfortable in the prosthetic. Of course,
mm.
this is normal. It's absolutely normal.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone goes through the same thing. I honestly felt like I was never going to be able to walk without crutches. And
Yeah.
then suddenly, one day, I'm walking down the street without
Yeah.
crutches. And still makes me want to cry now.
Oh,
Because one
oh,
of the things I hated before
right.
the amputation was having to walk with a walking stick.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, but I
Yeah.
hated it. So to get rid of any walking aid was a really big moment for me. Also, I never hide my prosthesis. I
uh,
absolutely love to have that leg on show.
Yeah.
I never cover it up.
Said something to me once. I always,
God, what did I say?
everybody's staring at you when you walk into a room. You were like, yeah, and that's the best thing about it because you're the one that didn't notice. And I was like, yeah. So you, why do you just want to blend in? You want to stand
Yeah,
out and be the one.
absolutely.
Please.
I know it's not for everybody. I know some people don't like being amputee, and it's like everybody's journey is their journey. But for me, I always wear a blade of some description. I do have a couple of feet that I wear shoes with. But the weird thing about anything that I wear shoes with, even though the prosthetic is not covered, when I look down and I see two shoes, all I can think is, nobody's going to notice,
I don't
which
know
is
that.
ridiculous.
It's all
It's
too
like I
small.
like the attention for it. I'm very proud of my
Yeah.
journey to get to this point. I love the way the prosthetics look. Yeah,
It's
I never really want to cover it up.
Yeah. Did you have any hard times at the start though with maybe, making that decision to have your amputation? Did you find that a difficult decision to make, or were you just, wanting to be free of the pain and the leg at the same time?
No, I didn't find it a difficult decision at all. It took, from the time I first went to the consultant about it, I think it was nearly 2 years between the initial consultation and the operation happening. So there was lots of tests that they wanted to do to try and minimize the chance that I would amputate and have a lot of pain afterwards, because that's obviously a risk.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of research into where the pain was coming from, what was causing the pain. I also wanted to prepare my family because it wasn't a big issue to me, but I knew it was going to be an issue to them because they would see it as
Absolutely.
something hard to deal with. So it was as much about preparing other people
Yeah.
as it was for me. For me, the decision was not a difficult one at all. I'd lived with a leg that I hated for so long.
Was it 16 years, did you say?
It was 16 or 17 years. Yeah. I loathed it. I hated it.
Did you
Absolutely hated it.
have mobility in it, or was it just really, really painful? Could it move like
No. So from my knee down, I completely smashed my leg to pieces. It was misshapen. I only had one bone. They'd taken one bone out because it was just so smashed to pieces.
Yeah.
Then they'd had to remove my ankle, so I didn't have an ankle joint. So one leg was shorter than the other. And so that I didn't have to wear... This is how my brain works. When they told me they were removing my ankle, obviously it's to make my leg shorter. I told them I do not want to wear special shoes.
No.
I did not want to have, one regular shoe and a shoe that was built up. So they actually put my foot back on at an angle so that I could wear normal shoes with a heel raise underneath.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
Which obviously was not great for walking, but visually it kind of helped keep it looking as normal as possible. But it meant that without a shoe on, walking was very hard. I was basically walking on my toes. So yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was very happy for it to have gone.
Yeah. And did you have any hard times afterwards, coming to terms with it, or did you, accept it quite quickly? By the sounds of it, you accepted it quite quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't even, I didn't even need to accept it.
Yeah.
It was just a process that I had to go through.
Yeah.
I woke up from the operation. I was super happy. I was up and out on my crutches straight away. So I was very, there wasn't really a problem at all. Like I say, it was a big problem for other people. The look of pity on people's faces when they
I know.
suddenly see you without your limb before my prosthesis. And I get it. People think that it's a bad thing, but actually it's not always a bad thing, I don't regret anything about it. I don't regret getting on my motorbike that night.
Yeah.
It all led to where I am now, and it's it's great.
I saw in one of your other documentaries that when you were saying about your motorcycle accident, that one of the things that your driving instructor said to you was not to get on your motorbike when you were in a bad mood or angry, and that's
exactly what happened. Yeah. They said two things: don't get on when you've been drinking, which wasn't a problem. I don't drink anyway.
Yeah.
And the other was don't get on in a bad mood. And that I was definitely in a bad mood that night, having had an argument with somebody. And it only takes a moment distraction when you're on a motorbike for something terrible to happen. Luckily, I wasn't going fast at all. Actually, if I'd been going a bit faster, I probably would have been okay.
Okay.
It was not a very exciting accident. It was just that the bike was very big. And it went over on top of me. Whereas if I'd been going a bit faster, I might have been thrown clear.
Okay.
But, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's usually during our darkest moments where we experience the most traumatic life events that we experience such enlightening, life-changing opportunities, if that makes sense. So obviously at the time of your accident, it was, for anybody, a devastating thing to have gone through, to have experienced, and to have such a life-altering injury. But now, look at all the things that you've achieved. Would you change anything?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like, people say, "Oh, do you wish you'd done it sooner?" I don't. The pathway for me was the perfect pathway.
Mm.
It, being an amputee, it's not just being amputee. You know, very different to a lot of people. You know, I'm covered in tattoos, and I've got my clothes on at the moment, so I'm covered in tattoos. I have this weird, you know, I wear weird prosthetic legs with great designs on them. Sometimes I put lights on, lasers, all sorts of things. It's a space for me within the industry because I look different, and it's like people want different these days. They want different. There are millions of pole dancers out there, but I get some of the most amazing gigs to perform at.
Tell
And
us
it's
about
because
some
of the
you've done. Let's hear about some of the amazing ones, other than the
well.
Jubilee.
So I mean, what I really should do is keep notes of the things that I do because I tend to do something, I move on, I sort of forget about what I've just done. Amazing performances at events, private events, public events, and also actually the last thing I did a couple of weeks ago with Sophie from the Alternative Limb Project performed for Revolut Bank 2 weeks ago at the Outnet in London, which was amazing. It was just the most amazing space. So yeah, it's just there's always things coming through. Like I say, I tend not to look back at what I've done. I'm always looking at the next lot of gigs.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun. It's wonderful. But I'm happy for those opportunities to arrive because
Yeah.
I'm an amputee. You know, it's like I look different, and that's what excites. That's what people like. You know.
Yeah. And what advice could you give to other people out there who are amputees, or they have a physical disability, or they don't have a disability at all, but they're looking to get into pole dancing? What advice can you give to them about taking that step and taking on the sport?
Well, the first step is just to book a class.
Yeah.
You have to just bite the bullet and book a class. Or
Mm.
maybe do a little bit of research as well. You could maybe find your local studio and you could email them and explain your situation, find out if they're happy to work with you. Because some people will find it very intimidating and very scary
Mm.
to teach somebody who has a disability. And I
Okay.
don't see that as bad for that person. I get it. But if somebody is not willing to work with you, then it wasn't the right studio in the first place. So it's just finding somewhere that's sympathetic, that's understanding, that's willing to work with you. And if not, then you find somebody else. Or you go online, you find other people. There's other disabled pole dancers, and you ask them for their advice.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, they are always happy to share their story, share their advice. You know, it's the information's out there. We have to, I think, as people with disabilities, we have to accept the fact that we need to put a little bit of work in as well.
Yeah.
You can't just say, well, you should be teaching disabled people in the same way. Well, that's not the way world is. You know, it's just finding the right people, the right environment. And don't feel put off if you come across somewhere that is a little bit scared or a bit nervous.
Yeah.
You know, that's their journey. It's not your problem.
Would you say the industry is becoming more inclusive now? Obviously, you've got the Para World Championships for pole dancing as well, so must be quite a few pole dancers with disabilities now.
Absolutely. And it's a very inclusive environment anyway. It's a body positive environment. People are there to learn to use their bodies, but also learn respect for their bodies as well. And I can guarantee you, standing around for that long with that small amount of clothes on, you really start to realize actually your body is not so different from those around you. Yeah, you may have, you know, for me, I've got a missing leg, but the next person to me might be larger than me, or the next person may have, you know, their issues. It's like, but you're all in the same space and you're all supporting each other. And it's a great way to become much more positive about the way that you look. It's an incredible environment. But also, I kind of, in a way, I'm forcing inclusivity as well at the moment, where I now don't just compete in para competitions. I
I,
now compete in just regular pole competitions. So there is no disabled category in these competitions. I compete against other able-bodied polers.
Hmm.
And I think that's super important. At first, I thought I could only compete at para, but then I very quickly realized, actually, I can compete. I've got my own strengths, and I started winning competitions against non-disabled polers. In fact,
Incredible.
at the World Championships this year, I did a non-disabled category, and I
Yeah.
came third in the world for that, which
That's
is incredible.
amazing.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I was so proud of that. Yeah. It's the first time I've done two categories at the World Championships. But I have a whole load of other competitions that I've won through smaller competitions within the UK as well. And overseas, actually, yeah. Yeah. My trophy, I'm just looking at my trophies over in the corner, and it's kind of
yeah,
like my windowsill's starting to groan with all the trophies and the, yeah.
you should have
Yeah,
put them all behind you.
yeah, I was
Like,
tempted.
oh, I love it. Okay, right. Let's talk. Let's both talk about this because this is really, really exciting. The glitz and glamour of Eurovision.
Oh
So,
my
me
God.
and you, can you believe, like, this is another one of those moments in life that you just can't believe actually happens, can you? But myself and you were two of some of the amputees who were involved in Eurovision in 2000, I think it was 2023 in Liverpool, where we
Yeah,
performed alongside Sam Ryder and Roger Taylor. And
yeah.
obviously, it was incredible. But what were the highlights of your experience of Eurovision?
First of all, I nearly wet myself when I got that email. The Jubilee, I loved the Jubilee. That was
Oh,
amazing, and I thought that was like the pinnacle. But somehow Eurovision absolutely topped that, which is kind of weird. I think as a kid, I was fascinated by Eurovision, and I had been, when it came to Harrogate, Eurovision was on in Harrogate one year, and I was 11 years old, and I'd gone collecting autographs and ended up being invited in for a sham breakfast
oh,
with
that's so sweet.
all the performers, and the local news had gotten hold of it, and I've got this cute little clipping of me
Oh,
and my friend with a news story about us being invited in. So it was, it had been around in my life for so long. To then be asked to be on
yeah.
stage was, so just being asked was incredible.
I took
But I
you back.
think what I,
You were like, yes.
sorry, say that again. That you broke up there again.
I said it took you back to your childhood, those
Oh,
memories in that experience.
I know the excitement was extraordinary. Um, Obviously, it was great working with Sam. He's amazing artist, but I knew that that would be amazing. The thing that I really loved was being around so many incredible amputees.
Yeah,
I kind of to be around people who are doing amazing things, when actually you don't come across people like that very often. Obviously, social media, you see
yeah,
them, but to be in a room with all those people being just
I know.
incredible it was incredible. The camaraderie was astounding.
Yeah,
And I think that's what I missed more than anything actually afterwards was just not being with that group of people, especially
oh,
that last week. It was intense where we were there for the whole week. Yeah, I loved the whole experience. It was incredible.
we were like in a Eurovision bubble of glitz and glam and fun, and nothing
Absolutely.
mattered, did it?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was, yeah,
And it was so
yeah.
chaotic, like thinking of it backstage, like people were running down to the different sets and we were like quickly getting changed and then we were on stage and then we were learning our performance and it was just like, it was like a whole different world. And to be a part of something like that was, yeah, really extraordinary.
And then,
But
can you remember stepping out on that stage for the first time? When there was when first time when the audience were in for that first show.
yeah, it
I
was
mean,
massive.
it was just breathtaking. And also, that people are watching around the world. It wasn't just the people
Yeah,
that are there in the audience, but it was an experience that I don't think I'll ever have again. I mean, it was just
I know.
incredible.
The stadium and like all the people, you didn't know where to look, did you? Because
Yeah,
everywhere you
yeah,
looked,
yeah.
just like thousands of people there, and you'd catch people's attention every now and then, and they'd be like cheering on you on, and it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like you know, you think of these celebrities, or artists up there that do this all the time. You know, that feeling
Yeah.
must just be. You must never get tired of that feeling because it's.
Oh, absolutely. The buzz is insane, isn't it? The buzz is absolutely insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you have any other exciting adventures on your radar or competitions that you have coming up for 2025?
Yeah, so the next thing is actually I'm taking some time off, which is kind of great. Heading off to Miami for a few weeks, take some time off, get some sunshine in January.
Oh, and
Then through February, I've got 3 gigs booked already, which they're all very exciting. Then my next competition isn't till April, but then I think there'll be a few within a short period of time. I think it'll be April, June, and then the World Championships again in October, and oh, I've got one in July as well. Oh yeah,
woo!
so yeah, so yeah. And then there's all the other gigs in between as well. Yeah.
So, are you allowed to mention the jobs you've got on, or are they top secret at the moment?
There's there's one for Para Pride, which is a charity that I do a gig for most years, and that's a great event. I'm always so happy to perform alongside some other amazing disabled performers. It's a great event. It's a great event. It
Where
starts in February.
is it in
The
London?
event is in London. It's in London. Yep, and that's called Para Pride.
Okay.
And yeah, they put on an event a year. It's wonderful. It's really, yeah, it's a great
I've not heard
afternoon of
of
performances.
it. I'll have
Oh,
to.
and you? Yeah,
No,
check it out. Check it
I
out.
do. I don't know why I haven't, you know. Yeah, I definitely will. It sounds really, really good. Maybe I'll come and
Yeah,
watch it,
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
cheer you on.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Um, okay, so I guess before we wrap up, let's end the session with a motivational message. Obviously, everybody's amputation journeys are all different, but the feelings that we have associated around these life-changing events are very different. How can you, like, if anyone's watching this interview now who are maybe struggling a little bit with the challenges, what advice can you offer them to help them on their amputation journey and, you know, make the most out of their new life as amputees?
Yeah, I think in early days when you're dealing with surgeons and physios and the prosthetic team, don't be frightened to speak up because quite often you'll be not listened to properly, and
Yeah.
getting your voice heard is so important. It's so important with prosthetics that the fit is right, the alignment is right,
Mm,
the way that you're dealt with is right. I think quite often think that they have to put up with what they've got. You know, if something is hurting them or it's painful, it's not right. You really have to learn to speak up and make your voice heard. Don't be frightened to do that. Then also trust that journey. I think I
yeah.
spent so long worrying that there was something wrong. Actually, trust the process. You will get there. Then find something that fulfills you. Find something that gets your body moving. I'm not expecting everybody to do pole or do some extreme sport or, you know, something crazy. It's not about that. It's just about using your body. So whether that's walking, swimming, whatever works for you, climbing, there is ways to do everything, but you need to use your body. You need to use that limb. Don't let that limb waste away.
Yeah.
And it helps with not just your physical strength, your physical fitness, but it's your mental health. It's
100.
getting your body moving is so important. So it's finding something that excites you, finding the right people, finding the right environment to do that in.
Yeah. And as well, sometimes when you're trying something new, you can take baby steps and don't put too much pressure on yourself, you know? It's like, I think I was born with limb difference, so I've
Mhm.
been working on a prosthesis for a long time. So I hear from a lot of people that it is taking baby steps. You know, if you're learning to walk, don't put too much pressure on yourself to be able to walk how you used to walk, you know,
Yeah,
just set
yeah,
like shorter limitations, take it easy, be gentle on yourself, and you will get there. It will be difficult, but you will get
yeah.
there. It'll be really rewarding.
Absolutely. Yeah, baby steps is really important. You know, it's in everything you do as somebody who's limb different or with a disability, if you're learning something new. Yeah, little baby steps, and be proud that you're actually, be proud of your little baby steps, your achievements, because they're as big as, it's those little baby steps will suddenly add up to something huge.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've cracked it. I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You have to get through those baby steps to get to that end goal. So yeah,
It's so true, so true.
thank you so much, Andrew. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you today.
Oh, that's such a pleasure, Rebecca.
Thank you all for joining us. And yeah, for now, we will see you all soon. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.